Come, I have something to show you. The words were in her mind, along with the wind and the rain. She didn't order him to get out, because she knew he wasn't in it. This, the way she could sense him so deeply, speak to him with such ease, was part of whatever it was that tied them to one another, that taut, twisting emotion that ripped away old scars and created new vulnerabilities in a whip of fire across the soul. But as she watched him fly through the lush black of the sky, high over the glittering city, her archangel, with his wings of white gold and eyes of endless, relentless blue, she wasn't sorry. She didn't want to turn back the clock, didn't want to return to a life in which she'd never been held in the arms of an archangel, never felt her heart tear open and reform into something stronger, capable of such furies of emotion that it scared her at times. "Where are you taking me, Archangel?" "Patience, Guild Hunter." She smiled, her grief at the loss of her apartment buried under a wave of amusement. No matter how many times he decreed that her loyalty was now to the angels and not to the Hunters Guild, he kept betraying how he saw her, as a hunter, as a warrior. Shooting down below him, she dove, then rose through the biting freshness of the air with hard, strong wing beats. Her back and shoulder muscles protested the acrobatics, but she was having too much fun to worry. She'd pay for it in a few hours, no doubt about it, but for now, she felt free and protected in the dark. "Do you think anyone is watching?" she asked, breathless from the exertion, once they were side by side once more. "Perhaps, but the darkness will conceal your identity for the moment." Tomorrow, she knew, when light broke, the circus would begin. An angel maid. Even the oldest of vampires and the angels themselves found her a curiosity. She had no doubts about how the human population would react. "Can't you do your scary thing and make them keep their distance?" However, even as she spoke, she knew it wasn't the reaction of the general population that worried her. Her father... No, she wouldn't think about Jeffrey. Not tonight. As she forced away thoughts of the man who had repudiated her when she'd been barely 18, Raphael swept out over the Hudson, dropping so hard and fast that she yelped before she could catch herself. The Archangel of New York was one hell of a flyer. He skimmed along the water until he could have trailed his fingers in its rushing cold before pulling himself up in a steep ascent, showing off. For her. It made her heart lighten, her lips curve. Dipping down to join him at a lower altitude, she watched the night winds whip that sleek ebony hair across his face, as if they could not resist touching him. "It will do no good." "What?" Fascinated by the almost cruel beauty of him, this male she dared call her lover, she'd forgotten what she'd asked him. "For me to scare them away. You are not a woman to stay in seclusion." "Damn, you're right." Feeling her shoulder muscles begin to pull in ominous warning, she winced. "I think I need to set down soon." Her body had been damaged in the fight against Li Juan. Not much, and the injuries had healed, but the enforced rest period meant she'd lost some of the muscle she'd built up prior to the battle that had turned Beijing into a crater, its voice the silent cry of the dead. "We're almost home." Concentrating on keeping herself going in a straight line, she realized he'd shifted position, so she was effectively riding his wake, meaning she no longer had to make as much effort to hold herself aloft. Pride had her scrunching her face into a scowl, but contrasting with that was a deep warmth that came from knowing she was important, more than important, to Raphael. And then she saw it, the sprawling mansion that was Raphael's cliff-top home on the other side of the river. Though the land backed up against the Hudson, the place was hidden from casual view by a thick verge of trees. However, they were coming at it from above, and from there it looked like a jewel set in the velvet darkness, warm golden light in every window, turning into pulses of color where it hit the clean lines of the stained glass on one side of the building. The rose bushes weren't visible from this angle, but she knew they were there, their leaves luxuriant and glossy against the elegant white of the house, hundreds of buds ready to bloom in a profusion of color as the weather grew warmer. She followed Raphael down as he landed in the yard, the light from the stained glass turning his wings into a kaleidoscope of wild blue, crystalline green, and ruby red. "You could have landed on one of the balconies," she said.